Hello guys, I'm Fizzy, and welcome to Hungary for this 50% distance race in Nico Rosberg's Mercedes. This will be one of the first long distance races I've done while having this F1 2014 preview copy, and I thought I'd have a bit of fun, so I intentionally chose to have a really poor qualifying session. I actually retired from it, in fact, so I will be starting this race from the back of the grid. So in this scenario I've created, it's gonna be a race of damage limitation for Nico Rosberg, as his teammate Lewis Hamilton is starting on pole position in the other Mercedes. You can see my setup there in the background. I'm still not sure whether that is particularly great, but the main reason I wanted to do this 50% race around Hungary is because there is a track where on F1 2013 it had a really bad tyre wear. On 2013, a 3-stop strategy with 3 stints on the prime tyres was the fastest way to go because the tyre wear was so strong, but I have a feeling that on this game the tyre wear is not as bad, or the tyres are more durable, if you will. So I thought I'd go for a 2-stopper in this race, which definitely would not have been to be preferred on the previous game. So if I can get through this race with a 2-stopper without any major problems, that kind of proves my theory. So let's jump straight into it. On the grid, our teammate Lewis Hamilton sitting on pole there, far out of reach for the moment at least. Daniel Ricciardo in second, and then all the way down in 22nd. We're starting right there at the back. One thing to note before we go is that you cannot choose your fuel load on this game, or if you can, then I'm not finding where to do it. So the game starts you off with a set amount of fuel, which as you can see there is currently unoptimal, so you might have to do some fuel saving if you push it a bit during the race. But we're off now off the grid, following Chilton and Ericsson, and I've kind of chosen the wrong line, but it's opened up as they've spread out. And I've gone straight down the middle, now looking for the inside line into turn 1, braking a bit late, but just about slowing it down to not hit Romain Grosjean. Sticking to the inside line through the corner and kind of wheel spinning a bit on the exit there, struggling to get out of it in 3rd gear, but now up to 5th on the outside of Sutil. Looking as my man Kevin Magnussen has gone very slow on the inside, as has the Force India. Grosjean has forced me to kind of tap in the back because he was so slow, and now he's slowed on the apex, so we've gone round the outside of Grosjean there. So you can see that AI is still occasionally a little bit clumsy right at the start of the races when they're going 2 or 3 wide through the corners, as we're having quite a bit of a moment there through the left hand or the top of the hill, having to correct massively, but still staying at the back of Perez. We're up to 12th now, of course, and I gotta say, the AI should speed up a bit now that we're past the first few corners, but obviously we are in the Mercedes, so we should be quicker than this Force India ahead. So no excuses, except for the fact that this part of this track, of course, is not a place to really have a go and overtake. But let's see if we can get a run on this straight coming up now. But now we get on the curb a little bit, get a slight overstay moment, and not really close enough. As I say that, we get as close as we can to Perez's rear there. Luckily though, without any kind of damage being caused. Now through these last couple of corners, which I've really struggled with so far on this, my time driving around this track, which hasn't been a lot in this game. But I'm really struggling to find a proper balance and to balance the throttle around these final couple of corners, because these cars really don't like it when you start to accelerate while you are turning. But we have some good straight line speed in the Mercedes, getting a slight slipstream as well from Perez, diving up the inside into turn 1 on lap 2, and it looks like the job is done in terms of getting up to 11th place. Perez getting a bad exit there as well, now under attack from the Lotus it looked like. But yeah, this track really has some corners which are difficult in these cars, and this is another example. You can see here on the exit you're still turning while you want to accelerate out of the corner, and the back stepped out a bit as I was just a bit too eager, which is something you don't really want to be while driving these cars. As again on the exit at the top of the hill, the car just spitting us out due to getting too hard on the throttle on the AstroTurf, and for a brief moment there I had some agonizing flashbacks from that particular corner from my AOR League race last season. But let's try to calm down a bit now, as we have Jenson Button in 10th place just ahead of us, and this time showing this corner left-hander a little bit more respect. Jenson Button not having the greatest of corner there. I'm really close to him going towards the chicane, diving up the inside, just about getting a slow down for the apex, and we've got the move done for 10th place as we drive into this really tricky middle sector of the lap, charging after Daniel Kvyat and struggling a bit for traction out of their corner. But it's all fun and games as long as we control it, and again controlling this little slide there at the exit of the final corner. Now we got DRS coming on to lap 4, catching Kvyat with DRS, slipstream, more Mercedes power, and everything is just on our side in a straight line speed battle versus Toro Rosso. So that is job done for the move up to 9th place, and now we got the big boys ahead of us. Vettel, next man up the road. And as you can see, the fuel still unoptimal after 4 laps in standard, so I thought I'd try to close this gap by putting it up to a rich fuel mix. to try and close this 2.1 second gap up to Vettel as quickly as possible. And you can see that the tires are also starting to wear a little bit, but it's not too bad at the moment. In my league race run there in 2013, I only did 5 laps on the first stint of the race on the option tires. Obviously those tires would also have done a lap of qualifying beforehand, but they definitely would not have been able to last the 9 laps that we were planning to go here with any kind of performance left. At the moment these tires are looking quite alright after lap 6. As I say that, I had a bit of a slide, but it's not too bad still. And you can see we caught right up to the back of this train with Vettel at the back of it, or Vettel as Germans have told me to say it, something similar to that. But it's not going to be easy to get past these cars, because they're of course much closer to the performance of the Mercedes compared to the cars we've passed so far. And again, this part of the track is not really one for overtaking. But we're going to skip a little bit forward until the next lap, and you can see I've actually fallen off the train slightly, because at this stage I was starting to feel the tyre wear a little bit, whereas the AI drivers didn't seem to be struggling any more than they were. And now again we've been absolutely molested by that corner, and this time actually touched the wall with the side of the car, but so lucky to avoid any damage there. We got grassy tyres though, which as you can see is not doing the grip of the car any favours. And now at the start of lap 8 you can see that the fuel has just gone down to -1 lap, because we've been in rich mix for about 4 laps now, burning more fuel than what we really should. So -1 laps means that we'll have to do some fuel saving at some point in the race. So at least for now I'm going to turn it back down to standard while we're struggling a bit on these tyres anyway. That little slide you saw there was not because of the tyres actually, that was because of me mis-shifting down to first gear in a second gear corner. So that is my bad. We're now at the end of lap 9, and as per the strategy we set before the race, planning for a 2-stopper, it's time to go into the pit lane to get rid of these quite worn option tyres. They're not, well, I would say they're about as worn as the options were after about 5 laps on 2013. So I'm still standing by my statement that I think the tyres are a bit more durable on this game, and we're still on course for a 2-stopper now as we put the prime tyres on, the white marked medium compound tyres. Same 2 compounds around here as on the previous game of course, so that is not playing any role. Yellow marked soft and white marked medium once again around Hungary. And we've rejoined the track in 19th place, so I don't think any of the other cars have made their first pit stop yet. We've got Gutierrez ahead, being held up by a Caterham I think, so let's see what we can do now on these fresh tyres. So now we are kind of being held up by these cars who obviously are on worn tyres right now, and it doesn't help that the Caterham is just ahead. Gutierrez is now going really slowly on his worn tyres, and we should hopefully have a go at him here into this braking zone, going for the inside line, braking later, and job is done as we have Ericsson just ahead. Let's see if we can get close to him to maybe have a go on the main straight with DRS, which should be an easy job considering the speed difference would be huge, but he goes into the pit lane anyway, so it doesn't matter. Makes the job easier for us, gives us DRS as well I think, because the detection zone is before that corner, but as I say that I noticed that our DRS is actually broken at the moment, so that doesn't matter. But his car is coming out of the pit lane, it's a Red Bull, and we've jumped Sebastian Vettel by pitting a lap earlier and going for the undercut. Obviously our out lap would have been faster than his in lap. I slotted in just behind Felipe Massa as well, maybe gaining on him here, looking a little bit to the inside, but then going for the outside pass, around the outside. Felipe Massa kind of slow there on the apex, and we've somehow gotten around the Williams on the outside of that long turn too. Potentially a crucial move to have some more clean air now, as we might jump a few more cars because there are still cars yet to pit. So let's see, as we're coming down the main straight now, we've gone past that Ferrari coming out of the pit lane. I'm not sure which Ferrari it was, but either way we passed it. And we're up to 6th place now, which I believe should be our proper position, as I think all the cars have pitted now. So we will now be going 13 laps on each of the prime stints, seeing how that goes. So our next lap of pitting is lap 22 at the end of that. But first let's see if we can catch and potentially pass Hülkenberg, who it must be noted is on the option tyres again actually. The same is Sebastian Vettel just behind us as well. So theoretically those two should be quicker than us at this point, in terms of tyres at least. So we're at the end of lap 13, reasonably close to Hülkenberg, coming onto the main straight now, and with DRS putting fuel up to rich mix, and then charging down in on the straight in Hülkenberg's slipstream, looking to the inside line. He's not bothered to defend from this OP Mercedes, and it looks like he's run wide actually as well. I think Vettel has also passed Hülkenberg, and he has indeed, And we had a bad exit out of the corner actually, so Vettel could get close potentially on this straight, but I think we should have him covered. And now there's a bit of a gap up to Fernando Alonso in running in 4th place at the moment in his Ferrari. And our fuel is still on -1, so we'll put it back down to standard for now. And now on lap 15 we actually set the fastest lap of the race, so we're clearly catching on Alonso, a second behind him now, and the 2 cars ahead of him as well, which I believe is Valtteri Bottas and also Daniel Ricciardo. But you can see that yellow dot on the minimap, that is Lewis Hamilton, and he's absolutely miles clear, who has had clean air this entire race, of course, starting from pole in the Mercedes. So it looks like we'll need some kind of amazing miracle to have a chance of winning this race. So lap 17 now, and we've caught right up to the back of Alonso through this tricky middle sector. Not really anywhere to pass around here though, so we're going to have to be patient and try to find a moment, but that moment is not going to be now, because we went a bit too hard on the curb there and had to correct it. And let's see how I navigate those final 2 corners now, because I've been struggling for traction out of these 2 corners, missing the apex slightly this time, and not doing too bad in terms of traction. The car's not actually stepped out on this time, but you can see Alonso is still pulling a little bit of a gap, and he will of course have a DRS just like us, so I don't think we'll be catching him too much on this straight now. Catching him a little bit in the braking zone, but then struggling a bit for traction again out of the hairpin of turn 1. So this DRS straight is also looking like not an overtaking opportunity for the time being. It's annoying that 2 of the corners that I seem to be getting the worst exits out of is the 2 which lead onto DRS straights, which certainly makes it difficult to get a good run on the car ahead, especially of course against the other fast cars, even if the Mercedes should be a little bit faster. As we just lapped Kobayashi's Caterham there. And now on to lap 22, and we're due for a pit stop. I could not get close enough to Alonso. Obviously, look at the rear tires, they're quite orange on the indicator there. So towards the end of this stint, I was also struggling a little bit with traction, as you'd expect, of course. Again, not to the extent that it would have been on 2013, after doing 13 laps on the primes, as they would have been absolutely shot to pieces by now, I think. So this strategy is looking like the best one, I think, and backed up by the fact that the AI cars are doing the similar thing. But obviously I seem to be pitting a lap or 2 earlier than the AI, because the AI seemingly are doing 2 stints on the options, whereas I'm doing 2 stints on the primes. So they're actually doing an even more extreme strategy than me in terms of the tyre wear. But obviously I don't think they are as much affected by lack of traction as I am. But I said that I was pitting a lap earlier than the AI, but now we have actually Vettel there just behind me, so he is clearly already pitted, and that is obviously because he was on the option tires on his second stint and now on the prime tires for the last stint, unlike Alonso and those guys we were with before. So it'll be interesting to see if we can jump some cars again. And now there are cars coming out of the pit lane. There's a Williams, there's Valtteri Bottas, but no Fernando Alonso to be seen, so he has presumably stayed out for another lap, which in theory means we have an even bigger chance of jumping him, and we have already passed him up to P3 now, and we got the Red Bull of Daniel Ricciardo coming out of the pit lane in second place just ahead of us, and we're not close enough to really have a go. He's just nailed the traction zone there out of turn 1 and seemingly left us for dead. No chance for us into turn 2, and Ricciardo of course on that option tyre set now for the final stint, so he has a tyre advantage, meaning it should be incredibly difficult for us to keep up really, or at least pass him, especially considering the fact that we're still low on fuel and have to kind of be wary of that and potentially fuel save towards the end of the race. But we'll of course try to keep up with him as best we can and just hope that an opportunity opens for having a go. And at this point I kind of felt that at the start of the stint would have been my best opportunity before I start, struggling with tyre wear. So I'm taking a bit of a gamble, turning the fuel up to rich, even though we're running low as it is, just to give it a proper go for a lap or 2. As Lewis Hamilton now on lap 26 has put in the fastest lap of the race. We were on course actually on this lap for a fastest lap ourselves, but that was not gonna be. We're actually 6/10 slower than Lewis Hamilton at this point, so presumably Lewis Hamilton also on the option tyres for the final stint. And we're also not getting close enough to Ricciardo to have a go. Not good enough out of the first corner, also not good enough out of the last corner onto the main DRS straight. So considering the fuel situation, it's kind of looking like a lost cause at the moment. And on the next lap, losing even more time due to a slide out of the first corner, and the fuel has now gone on to -2 laps. So it's gone from bad to worse in terms of trying to get onto, well, getting past Ricciardo for second. And at this point, I've decided, job has been tested. I've done as well as I can with rich mix. It's time to fuel save, so we at least can get to the end of the race in 3rd place. But even after cruising in lean for a few laps, I'd actually closed back in on Ricciardo a little bit, because it looked like he had lost a little bit of time somewhere. But again, as I'm trying to follow him closely through this final corner, I'm just not able to carry enough speed through onto the straight, putting up the ridge for what could potentially be our final just minor attempt at just trying to get close to Ricciardo. But again, tyre wear is starting to kick in as well now, struggling for traction out of turn 1 with the DRS open as well. And once again, Ricciardo is pulling away. So on the final lap now, and the fuel has kind of been balancing between -1 lap and optimal for this entire last lap. Back to optimal now at least, so we stick it back to standard. I mean, I'm going to try to use as much as fuel as I can without running out. Lewis Hamilton wins the race, and you know, quite far ahead of us in the end, but we're in 3rd with a solid margin to Bottas behind, who seems to be, according to the minimap, holding up like a 5-car train behind him. So in terms of the tyre wear, not too bad to be honest. Obviously, it's you can feel the tyre wear quite a bit at this late stage of the stint, but it's not to the extent that you can't control the car properly. So I think the 2-stopper was the way to go. We finished 3rd after starting from last against Legend difficulty AI, using no driving assists, but of course using the fastest car on the game. But still, I think that was a good day's work. And that is all I really have for this video. I hope you enjoyed the race, in which case feel completely free to press the like button, and of course subscribe if you want to see more F1 2014 gameplay from me in the future. Then this video I'm going to leave you with the replay of the first lap of the race, just so you can see what that action looked like from a different perspective. If you have any questions about the game, or suggestions for other things I could do in terms of making videos on the preview version before the game is released, then leave it in the comments below and I'll take a look at it. But from me for now, it's goodbye.